show up today. I just thought,
Yeah.
Really?
nobody's supposed to have a number.
I'll make a bet.
Hi. So I'm kind of sensing a trend here. Those on many more weeks will be meeting in the parking lot.
Ross, you get to hit the opening prayer today, okay?
Okay.
God bless you.
I don't know whether it's
Everyone.
How much more of this is going to get torn up?
Just this
I
and
hope
the
all.
other end. Still more weeks.
Okay.
Safe, that's what it is.
So the end is in sight?
Have you been made a volunteer?
We are. All right, we're all here.
We do have a phone.
Carl's not here. Police dispatcher. Like canvas.
Oh, no way.
That's about the most
We have a floor.
dispatching position you can ever have. But it was.
Designated. But Ryan says we have a.
You know what was so great? To get my ballot in the mail yesterday and to drop it off today when I got here.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't been home to see it.
Well, I'm not ready for it.
What?
I did the same.
Mm-hmm. What?
Didn't take me long.
No.
So I guess I'm out of here. That's a necessary step.
Yes, I think so.
I want you to know this is my first Diet Coke of the day.
Okay. We'll trust you.
I told Cheryl I had to bring water because I'm pretty sure that my veins are just completely filled with caffeine at this point today.
I say, and it's Hasten's fault?
It's your fault?
No, why, but I have a feeling we picked on a lot today.
I hope so. No, we won't take it too much. So you're okay with that, Ross, right? I see you're grazing at the salad bars. Yeah?
Yeah, I'll do both the camera and the box. I'm really hungry.
Are we still broadcasting in there now?
No.
Okay. That's good, because we already have people showing up.
Here we are, right. 401, we officially bring this pre-meeting to order. And we'll turn it over. Jason, are you making the presentation? Yep.
I love seeing something like this. I'm so glad someone is.
So, first item, you ready?
Yes, sir.
First item is a simple subdivision.
Sure, it's on there.
This is the fourth time it's coming back to planning commission. So it seems to go through, get approval, wait 2 years, and then they have to come back and go through it again, and they sell it, and we can, anyway, this is the fourth time. It's a 2-lot subdivision. It was rezoned probably 10 years ago to an R6. No one's ever actually bought it and developed it, so they're back again for a 2-lot subdivision. It's an R6, so it meets minimum, it's 16.
6,000.
Yeah.
So you can see the front lot is almost 8, the back lot is 97 without this, or 78 without the flag stem, so it doesn't meet actually R7 standards, but it's an R6. So no issues, no. So it's really.
Does it say who, in their proposal, not that this is pertinent, but does it say who will be in charge of maintaining the egress?
You're talking about the top.
Uh-huh.
That will actually be owned by lot 2,
Okay,
so they will be
so they'll
responsible.
be responsible for it?
Lot 1 does not have access, it's simply.
I missed the answer to that. Who's responsible for?
So you can see the
Lot
ownership.
2.
The ownership is, there's a lot line right there.
Okay,
So they'll actually own it. It does look like lot 1 does.
and then the extra one's in front.
What?
I had a
No.
situation like this with a property very recently, so I was just wondering.
No, you guys look at this? Yeah.
To her point, you
Very
have to look at the
straightforward.
plat to see who actually owns it, because it's not, may not own it.
If there's multiple beach lots, then sometimes it's just an easement across the front.
It depends on.
I really should have showed it to
Away from it, you take it.
you. Yeah.
So this is the view of the property, it'll actually clean it up a little bit.
Will greatly improve that street.
It's true. So this one is, you guys heard this in June, first part of June, it came to the city council. We're recommending a 60-foot modification to the unlimited height in the North Village District. We went to the council last time, it was June 29. They requested that we make a new application and come back with a 35-foot limit and a 48-foot limit. So the 48-foot would be in the NBDC zone, which would be the core, which is this portion here. And the rest of the property and the edge and the rest would be 35-foot max. There is a stipulation in the ordinance that would allow for cupolas, domes, things like that are occupiable to be a little higher, 10 feet higher, but the actual top of any occupiable space is 35 to 48.
Is 48, is that generally like 4 stories?
Typically, you can do probably 40 to 48. Usually 3 and 35, roughly. Depends on the floor, but it's, if they're doing the vaulted ceilings, it maybe not, or higher ceilings, not vaulted.
This is the city council that came back with this.
During the city council meeting, they were close to making a motion to do that, but the council from the attorney's office indicated that maybe a new application would be more advisable. So that's why we're back with the application. The other request is to go up from the 1.75 instead of the 2, which was reviewed, to the 2.25 stalls for residential units over and above the base. So, any questions on that?
What, if we take it to 2.25, of course we did approve it at 2, and they wanted 2.25, why? I mean, I wasn't at that city council meeting, what is their reasoning?
I think they felt the 2.25 would assure that there's no parking issue.
No, property parking area. And the recommendation to lower it from where we had previously at 60 feet to 35.
Neighborhood pressure is what it was.
Yeah.
So in the transportation master plan, it talks about, you can have a city do a study on the street to see if there's more traffic calming needed. Are traffic speeds one of the worries on Northeast or West?
Northwest.
Sorry.
That's one of the comments I think now with traffic.
We've had a police thing there for several weeks now.
Okay. Is that,
A lot of tickets.
Not a lot of tickets, but they've also been like monitoring speed and saying, hey, if this is a 25, you're going.
So what you're saying is that the traffic monitoring system that was on there has cut all these speeders in the last 2 weeks. Are they all residences of the neighborhood?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Are you kidding?
So they're current residences of the neighborhood. These are not people who are thinking about moving in later.
No, pretty much. I mean, I'm
How
at
do you-
30, but
Are they current residents of the, I mean, I lived in that street, and I drove the 25, and people were crossing from Orem to Linden, going really fast.
sometimes,
So not only are residents of the street,
right, not only,
Yeah,
but,
yeah, I just want to make sure it's clear that we're not saying
right.
they're the cause of why they're going fast, therefore we're not gonna do anything about it.
No.
I
Okay.
believe there's a,
No, that's not what we were saying. What I was looking at is that they're saying it's going to increase speed and increase traffic,
It
cause our
might,
children to be killed. There's all kinds of things that they're saying now. My question is only this, Hasten, was it the people who were thinking about buying something there in the North Village District, who were the ones who were speeding, the ones killing the children? Who
mentioned-
was it?
Why does it have to go that far, killing the children?
Because that's
someone
they
threw-
do all that.
One of the people who has shown
No,
up
that's what they
literally
do.
threw that on a staff member.
That was the comment that was made.
Yes.
So
We get it
I-
every time.
Alright, so
So we endanger our children.
just to let you know, I lived in that street.
Yeah.
And I moved out because it was dangerous to my children. Now, that's my personal experience. If you want to discount that, you're welcome to.
Mm-mm.
No.
So, but I lived in 1736 North, 400 West, with a good, about third acre in front of the house. And when I could not watch my kid 24/7 to see what they're doing in the front yard, I almost got him in the street when cars were speeding. So I worried about it. And I did the good thing for me, which is moving out.
And I do agree, the speed
So-
on that street is an issue.
So when somebody has that concern, I don't want to dismiss it.
Nobody's just.
I don't want to dismiss it.
Can I make a comment? I believe that in the transportation master plan, you can bring that to staff and request traffic calming, whether it be mini islands or bulb outs or speed bumps. Does
Speed bumps.
400 West, right, does 400 West qualify for that kind of, for that analysis by staff? Because I think there was some stipulation about if fire engines use it all the time or something like that.
We can look at it, we just have to remember when it acts as a collector, it's kind of one of those fine lines. We can do some things to try and get traffic to maybe travel at the posted speed limit. If it's posted 25, if it's posted 30, posted 35, we can try to do what we can to put some sort of treatments in there to get people to travel that speed. The hard part is that if those people travel it enough, they get conditioned and sometimes the speed creeps back up.
And the city has helped with that, because when I lived there, the city came in and put one of those speed meters with digital on right in front of my house. And the traffic engineer was phenomenal to work with, so there are things the city could do, and we have done. And the people slowed down once they saw that when came over 25. It's just once we got removed, things went back to habits.
Right. So we can make that a permanent request, I mean, we can order those and get those in place. It's just, right now, we're not super proactive on studying all the speeds on all of our corridors. But if there's comments and there's requests, we can take them and we can prioritize them and do that.
I believe there's a section in there with like a complaint form to have citizens fill out.
Right.
So if they did that, regardless of what development goes in here, the city could.
Yeah, if anyone has a complaint,
Pull out or
we recently
something.
did it on 6 South, there wasn't any development happening there, there was people, there's a lot of cut through traffic between 8th West and 12th West. We put a couple of your speed is signs in there, and it seemed to kind of, appease that. The same thing here, because for a while, we had kind of a traveling your speed is sign, we hook it up to our power on the streetlights, but if it needs to be a permanent fixture, yeah, we have no problem with that.
Thank you.
How open are you to like bulb outs or crosswalks with a median or something that's a little more expensive but more permanent and changes the behavior?
Bulb outs, it's interesting you say that because it's kind of a combination treatment. If you're gonna put a bulb out there, you need to put some sort of a vertical component with it. And then it's kind of a function of philosophy of how far out into the roadway you make it. Because we've done that on 5th East, down by the mall, there were some complaints of speeding through there. We've done some bulb outs, but we didn't want to get, it's either get really aggressive and you get out there to where people feel like it's a one-way traffic scenario, or you pull them back to where people get comfortable, because on the side that we're trying to calm traffic, then also it comes to wintertime when we gotta fit 2 plows or a plow through there, they want a little more space. So we can look at that, and it's just a matter of finding data that supports if it's, a 34 or 40 foot wide roadway, and we condense it down to where there's 2 24s, because ultimately you have to make it feel uncomfortable to slow down. And it's not just necessarily putting one in there, you almost have to put in a series, so they're not slowing down through it, speeding up, and then slowing down and speeding up. So there's kind of an art and a science to it. And to me, the best thing to do would be put in photocop. People would see it and slow down, you know what I mean? And you put that around instead of putting these treatments that people can, become conditioned to when they speed through them.
Okay, thanks.
Get that passed through the legislature.
I know, it was legal until I think some state legislators got a ticket and they couldn't talk themselves out of it talking to a camera. So they made it, so they outlawed it, but it would be a good thing to have. Right, yeah.
Okay.
I have, I have a question on that previous issue. So this is a lot of time spent on this one district, right?
Yep,
Yes,
We've been doing this for
not,
ever.
yeah. What's gonna happen in the other districts? Does the same issue crop up in the other ones?
Not yet.
are they still,
That does not yet mean nobody's sneaked in and built a building too high and then everybody screams?
Well, we haven't had any other projects apply at this point, so.
Yeah, but if they did, they'd be in, right?
Awesome.
Because they met the standard.
Right.
Okay,
So where are the,
I don't-
where
I
are
don't
the
think it's-
potential problems?
I don't think it's fair to say sneak in. They
You-
Well,
apply
no, it's
based on
legal.
the code.
And I didn't mean to imply it was, that they're doing it
But
illegally.
yes, any developer
grandfather is
could,
what you meant.
Yeah.
could apply for a development permit.
Yeah, right now, this is only applicable to the North Village District.
Now, we just passed that 75-foot setback. Is that applicable to all of the edge district all the way around?
That still will remain.
It in and of itself is its own limitation on the height requirement.
Yeah,
It essentially doesn't mean anything at this point,
no,
if this was approved.
if this
Because-
is approved, that 75-foot setback.
I would actually argue that this creates an unintended consequence, because now you can only build a 35-foot height, so where are they gonna put the building?
35 feet
35
back.
feet off the property line,
Yeah,
so,
yeah, that's the only way then to try to make up some of that, to make it pencil.
I mean, without this, you could build a 50-foot building, 75 feet off the property line. But now they can only build 35, so they're gonna put 35 where they can put 35.
If they can even make it pencil.
Yeah,
They could have got more, probably. But with the
So-
So it's gonna
75
be closer, people are gonna be, I agree, it's an unintended consequence.
it is.
So like on the 8th North District, I can't remember what that's called,
Canyon Crossing.
Canyon Crossing, the old Boston Fitness building, that guy got himself added to it, right? And there are houses right behind it,
Yeah,
so some big building can go in there.
Yeah.
And then the residents would scream.
Equal to the height, so it had to be at least setback equal to the lower height or something.
the old store.
Yeah, subject to the setback.
What do you mean got himself added to it?
He requested to be included, he wasn't originally
He was not in the
included.
district, he requested to be in the district to enjoy the benefits of the bill.
Right.
Yeah,
And that was approved.
That was done.
well, we worked with him as well, because we knew Vasa was going away. And what are you gonna backfill Vasa with? Is that not really anything in this market, so the idea was to figure out a way that site can be built. Otherwise, it would be sitting in a giant empty box and we're only together.
They would still have a
3 or 4
requirement
we
of
have
bringing
right now.
buildings up to the street, whether Main Street or either.
yeah. But has staff identified places where, in the other districts where this is maybe gonna be a problem?
That would be the only other properties, the one next to us.
So in the arts district,
There's
there are
no-
houses around there,
It's
but
bordered
there's a
by-
park in the way.
It's bordered by streets, the Arts District. The only street, or the only houses are gonna be on the very north, right across from the Noah Webster Academy, right, those homes right there. There's actually a buffer, the 75-35 is actually installed now as well. But the rest of the property is all commercial, in a civic zone or something like
So this really is unique. This isn't gonna happen anywhere else.
that. As far as setbacks you mean, or?
Well, this problem with the buildings being really high on a kind of a small
I mean, that-
footprint.
Anybody, you know, depending on where it's located, I mean, we're gonna, it's potential to get the same type of issues, but there's no homes, except for the 8th North, has homes directly next to it.
So Jason, another unique part of this is that's gonna be a feeder road to the new temple in Linden.
Yep.
It's not the only road, but it's a main road. There'll be a lot of traffic from that.
It is a collection road.
Do temples create that much traffic?
Yes.
When they're being
Yeah, let's vote
dedicated,
against it.
When they're being dedicated.
when they're being
they don't
dedicated, yeah, they're a nightmare.
When they're being
Well-
dedicated?
I don't wanna get struck by lightning, but they
Once they open though, the traffic's dispersed throughout the day, so
I'm
the
here.
impact is pretty,
Okay.
pretty minimal.
Oh, and probably off peak anyway.
Some will walk, not very, somewhat. Okay, next issue is North Meadows condominium. It's an existing office building that they want to convert into a condo. So there's 2 two levels, the main like garden style, and then they have an upper level, so now we convert both those into total of 4 units. So basically just taking it and bringing them into sellable portions. You can see current construction too, is the applicant is wanting to turn this into a condominium. So they could potentially sell one or all of the units to different people. Right now it's one building, so they can lease, but they can't sell unless they sell the whole building. This allows them to sell a unit if they choose to. So no issue, there is one issue with separation on the basement. They had an inspection on Monday, I believe, to do a firewall separation between units 1 and 2. Sorry, 3 and 4. Building code, that was the only issue that the building code had, is that wall needs to be a fire rating. They failed a little bit. I guess there was a couple issues that they were going to try to resolve today. So we do have a condition that needs to be resolved before we record the plat, but they may have it resolved before we hear it.
They were supposed to have another inspection today, he was saying it would pass, but
But staff,
That was the
because of the
contract.
condition, we will not record it until that condition is.
that's maybe a question you can ask him if it got.
Sure, if the condition's been met. Is there anybody from the city that can, would he have a document showing that
So
the
we
condition?
will verify through the documentation before we record the plat, if that's actually.
Have there been any problems with this type of conversion in the past? I'm
No,
just
we do it-
not
we do it all the
familiar with it.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
So we'd recommend approval on that. Those are the 3 items that we have. We still have 10 minutes.
We do, but we need to be in there in time to make our presence felt.
So this one is not a public hearing. The first item is not a public hearing, but the middle item is a public hearing. So
I'll make that announcement at the beginning, that if they want to make any comments during the public hearing portion, they cannot comment from the audience, they must step to the podium and state their name.
If they do make a comment from the audience, the microphones don't pick it up,
Correct.
and I don't record it either, so it's just blank space as far as the video is concerned.
Do we require their name and address?
you just name and residence.
I need their name and
City.
address, so that, because I can't
Okay,
understand them sometimes when they say their name, and I can verify it on the county records with their address, what their name is,
That's required.
and get it correct, and then
well, I mean, that helps too, to know if it's someone that lives in South Orem or in Solvo.
But I believe in council they require an address with the name, but
We have in the past, have them state their address.
and it helps me get their names spelled correctly, also. So addresses are good.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Do any of you have any other comments before we dismiss the meeting? Glad to see you all here.
So by the way, the planning commission in Linden did approve the temple last Tuesday.
Okay.
224 feet tall. There's 2 spires, 224 is the overall height. It's bigger than this 80,000, I think 81,000 square feet.
Yeah, it's a big one.
Actually, the only second temple in the world that has 2 baptismal fonts. Salt Lake is, Salt Lake, what's that?
Linden you're talking about?
Linden.
Yes.
Syracuse is the other one, and then of course they're adding a second one in Salt Lake.
Right.
But right now, plan-wise, Syracuse and Linden are the first 2 that have double.
And ours is only 70, isn't it? 70,000 square feet.
So usable square footage they claim is about the same. This one is a little unique in design. This is the first design of this temple. So they've never, usually they take some kind of morph it into a different city or whatever, but this is unique.
Hey, but 2 fonts is smart being next to a junior high, because then all those kids can just walk over to school when they're done.
That is good.
So they might have a lot more interest in that. So that's
Good
smart.
point. That's what
So
they
is
said.
that the reason it's just been sitting there all this time? Is that waiting for the Linden City Council to
Sure.
Planning
move?
commission.
Steve, you have a point, just a question on when someone comes up to speak at the podium, what's going to happen, make sure they get their name and address.
Okay,
Okay?
that's fine.
All right.
And I just talked to the building official, that condominium did pass its inspection today, so that does not need to be a condition of your,
Cool. Good.
whatever you do.
Testing, 1, 2, 3, 4, testing, testing. It is the appointed hour, 4:30 p.m. We'd like to welcome you and to the Orem City Planning Commission meeting today. And we've asked Ross Spencer if he would offer the invocation.
Our Father in heaven, we're thankful to be met here as the Orem City Planning Commission. We're thankful to live here, thankful for thy many blessings. We ask thee to please help us that we'll be able to have good deliberation today. Help us to be mindful of important issues that need to be considered in these matters. Help us that we'll be inspired and led to do the right things. And we ask thee to please bless Orem in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Ross. We do, again, welcome you that are here. I assume some of you are here for your own presentations. Others are here to perhaps provide comment and input. We would remind you to be civil and cordial one to another as we address these issues before the Planning Commission today. We'll ask Jason, if you will.
Okay. Thank you, members of the Planning Commission. Tonight we have 3 items to discuss. The first one is a preliminary plat, Sun Hill Plat A, located at 616 North, 1060 West in the R6 zone. This has been before you before. Maybe not. You guys may or may not have been on the commission at the time, but this has been through several times. Preliminary plats expire after a certain time frame, 1 year. Once that expires, if they don't make an or don't record the plat, it expires and they need to come back through this process. So this has been back a few times. The applicant is proposing to take what was previously approved back through the Planning Commission. Both lots 1 and 2 meet the requirements as far as size. 6,000 square feet is the minimum, and there are 7,800 and then 7,800 in the back as well. So more than adequate in meeting the requirements. This is the from the curb looking into the property. There's a little bit of slope going back to the deep lot, but that's been taken care of with retaining as well. Staff recommends that the Planning Commission approve the preliminary plat as suggested. There is a condition that the stormwater questionnaire be finalized with the applicant, which they're in the process of doing, but does need to be completed before we'll record the plat.
Okay.
Any questions?
Any questions at all? All right, let's turn it back to the commission then, being that we've never left, and we'll entertain a motion on this. Barry?
I move that we recommend we approve the preliminary plat of Sun Hill Plat A, located generally at 616 North, 1060 West in the R6 zone, with the condition that a stormwater questionnaire be submitted and approved.
We have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ross. And we'll start, Barry?
Aye.
Ross?
Aye.
Marisa?
Aye.
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 Okay, we're ready to move on to item 3.2.
3.2 is an amendment to the North Village District. This came before you in June 2nd of this year with a different request. That request was a 60-foot height limit with 2 parking stalls from the 1.75. During the review with the City Council on June 29th, they asked the staff to make a new application to come back to the Planning Commission and then on to City Council, which will be next Tuesday, to further restrict the requirements of the height and the parking as well. Just to outline where the, I don't know if you can see my pointer. Let me turn on my laser. So the core, the North Village District core, is this section right here outlined. And then the edge, which is the remaining around here, and then the Res B, or Res A, excuse me, is where the trailer parks are currently located. The proposed ordinance will take the North Village District core and allow a maximum height of 48 feet, subject to an additional 10 feet if you have areas that are not subject to occupancy, so ventilation, things like that. So that would be there. And then the North Village edge and the A would then be restricted to 35 feet maximum height, with again an additional 10 feet if it's areas that are not occupiable. So those types of cupolas and things like that. This is the proposed ordinance, again outlining the 35 and 48 foot limit. And then taking the 1.75, what was previously 2, now to 2.25. And so we're here to present that and be glad to address any questions.
Well, let's turn it to the commission for questions. We have not yet opened the public hearing, so there will be no comments until that is officially open. Thank you. Except from the commission. Any questions or comments from the Planning Commission itself? Well then, we will open the public hearing portion of this, and all of you that would like to make comments, if you would, you must come to the podium. You must state your name and your address for the record, and we would ask you to limit your comments to the 3-minute allotted time. Thank you. So it is now open. I brought maps. I would like 29 bottles of beer.
All right, my name is Jill Barrick. My address is 365 West 1750 North. I live 1 block from this. Tonight you will be voting on height restrictions in the North Village District. The NVD needs height restrictions. 48 feet in the core is the height of the new Mountain America Credit Union. This appropriately fits within the smaller scale development that the NVD zoning designation dictates. Anything higher is not appropriate, nor does it fit in with the requirements that developments fit in the surrounding neighborhood, as stated in Code 2722-7-3. I ask you to seriously consider what smaller scale development means and how you would feel if a 6-story building were being constructed next to your home. We are in a rush to save our neighborhood from the lofts at 1600 North development. But this exact scenario is going to happen time and again with the other 4 districts. Look at the maps I gave you. All of those neighborhoods marked with arrows and dots are existing residential homes. They are directly adjacent to zoning with unlimited height. Can you imagine how angry these residents will be when, just like us in North Orem, they get a letter in their mailbox with architect's drawings already completed for buildings that are 10 stories high, 20 stories high, 30 stories high, or developments that clearly have insufficient parking that you know will spill predatory parkers onto your own streets. They will come to meetings just like this, angry at whoever is sitting in these chairs, demanding answers and fixes. Fixing the State Street Master Plan is of utmost importance now. Please fix the MVD today and start the process of fixing these other zones tomorrow. I've worked in commercial real estate in Dallas, Washington, D.C., and Utah since 2002. I noticed flaws right away that are missing from the master plan, and I can give you more information. I don't have time. Things that are missing: no requirements for environmental site assessments. These properties are 100 years old. How contaminated are they? We don't know. Another thing that's missing: no incentives or rewards for builders to build green, utilize energy efficiency innovations, or achieve LEED certifications. Another flaw: all core zones have unlimited height. This is egregious to every one of those neighborhoods you see on that map. Another flaw: developers' hands are tied by the master plan zoning requirements. Investors do not want to invest in developments on State Street. Turn your papers over. There's actually testimonials from a developer and a real estate agent talking about the plan. How many more flaws are in the master plan? Okay, can I just have 5 more seconds? Tonight, please protect our neighborhoods and vote in favor of the 48-foot height limit and appropriate parking ratio so it meets the aim of smaller scale development and fits in with the surrounding neighborhoods. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lene Millett, 288 West, 1500 North. I'd like to thank you for your service on the Planning Commission. This is one of those times where you as a Planning Commission won't just be approving a site plan, but you'll be operating in a legislative capacity. You're not elected officials, you've been appointed to this board. It states on Orem City's website, quote, when the Planning Commission has recommending authority, they make recommendation to the City Council, who will hear and decide the item at a later date. The Planning Commission is concerned with land use issues and works to encourage planned and orderly growth within the city. Works to encourage planned and orderly growth within the city. In essence, your vote today will indicate what you think is in the best interest of Orem City and its residents, because Orem City is Orem City because of its residents. I'm currently running for City Council, and as I've walked the neighborhoods in Orem, I've heard tremendous concern regarding this concept of orderly growth within the city. Just last night, I met 2 people who have moved here from out of state, and they commented on how crazy it is that there are no transitions between land use in Orem. Why is that? Well, because in the past and recently, decisions were made that changed the planned and orderly growth for our city. Those of us who have lived here for a while have seen this happen. Today, we're asking you to recognize that the current zoning in the North Village District does not represent planned and orderly growth, and it needs to be changed. Our City Council has listened to us over the last 9 months. Yes, it's been 9 months. Thank you, City Council, we appreciate you. And they put forth this application before you to limit the height of the buildings behind our homes in order to create this orderly growth. Please recognize the importance of buffering homes from tall buildings through transitioning heights. This ordinance will do that. The height maximums, 48 core, 35 feet in the edge zones, will create orderly growth, which is what you're supposed to be approving. Please approve this. Regarding parking, everyone deserves to be able to park near their home. The 2.2 parking ordinance will help to facilitate that. Your vote today will give you an opportunity to represent the residents of Orem. Please represent them. Please represent the residents. Please represent planned and orderly growth and not your own personal and business opinions. Thank you so very much.
Hi, my name is Deneen Hutchings. I own the property on 1411 North State Street. It's been in my family since 1972. I believe approximately like they were saying 9 months ago, you guys said I was grandfathered in and I didn't need to increase the height of my building. And now I've received a letter that's saying that, if I'm understanding it correctly, that I'm going to have to increase the facial of it to make it to your requirement heights. And if that is true, that makes it more difficult for me to sell my building or to increase the value of my building because I put more money into it than what it's actually worth in your guys' eyes of the state laws and tax forms. I don't see how that's possible. I don't believe that should be right. Orem is made of city of being unique and individuals. You're trying to make them uniform. It's not going to make a city individual. It's making it uniform. Thank you.
Stephanie Visna, live at 399 West, 1560 North. I appreciate your serving on the Planning Commission to review and discuss Orem City as it grows and redevelops. The purpose of the State Street Master Plan is to improve the various functions and aesthetics of State Street. The North Village District, as part of the master plan, needs adjustments to its zoning and ordinances to protect neighborhoods, adjacent single-family homes, and provide future redevelopment that is in keeping with its stated purpose of neighborhood retail and smaller-scale development compared to the other four State Street districts. It has been argued that smaller-scale development refers to the commercial element being more mom-and-pop type businesses. The word development refers to the development as a whole, not just the commercial aspect of it. It has also been argued that building height is already restricted by parking and setback requirements. However, we have seen what a determined developer is capable of with a 70-foot building being proposed in the North Village District. The proposed 60-foot height maximum is not sufficient to protect adjacent homes given the mixed-use nature of the zoning. Yes, when we bought our homes, we were aware that there was commercial property next to us. But there is a big difference between a 60-foot commercial building and a 60-foot high-density housing development. In 2018, when the master plan was voted in, many of us, including some city council members, were unaware of the unlimited height and the high-density housing aspect. In the work meeting, you discussed traffic. With larger development comes increased traffic. 1600 North, being the smallest of all other State Street District connectors, is lined with single-family homes. 1600 North and State Street is on the top 10 most dangerous intersections in Utah County. This district cannot handle large development like other areas of Orem. Residents near the North Village District are eager to have a 48-foot in the core and 35-foot in the edge maximum. This will ensure that the zoning of the district is in keeping with the master plan's purpose, giving direction and clarity to developers and residents as to what smaller scale development means. Height maximums will protect single-family homes, as will increasing the parking ratio. With this mixed-use zoning comes shared parking. We have seen examples in many areas where shared parking just does not work, causing frustration for residents and patrons of the development as well as in nearby neighborhoods. I have personally spoken with property owners in the North Village District, both commercial and nearby residential, who have concerns with the shared parking ratios. Business owners know that parking will overflow into their parking lots when shared parking in nearby businesses become frustrating. Residents know that nearby neighborhood streets will become lined and parked with parked cars and extra traffic as the reduced shared parking proves inconvenient. Increasing the residential ratio from 1.75 to 2.25 stalls is an improvement. Mixed-use zoning requires a minimum of 10 or 20% commercial, which means that a developer can still choose 100% commercial. Currently, the commercial parking requirement is 3 stalls per 1,000 square feet of leasable space, whereas in traditional commercial zones, it is at least 4 per 1,000 square feet. If I understand it correctly, if 100% commercial development comes into North Village District, they would only be required to have 3 stalls per 1,000. That is much less than anywhere else in Orem City. Increasing the commercial parking requirement to 4 would ensure that neighborhoods are protected. This item is before you because City Council and many, many residents have lobbied the City Council to have this be here. Please provide your positive recommendation. Thank you.
Dear Planning Commission members, we appreciate your service to the City of Orem. My name is John Barrick. I live at 365 West, 1750 North. We are grateful for you hearing this North Village District proposal to change the height and the parking ordinances. We would like to thank 4 members of the City Council for asking for these changes. Councilman Spencer, Peterson, McDonald, and Lamson. 2 other City Council members said that they would be supportive of this. Only our lame duck mayor hasn't expressed support for this. There's a loophole for height. I'm used to talking about tax loopholes, but now Orem residents are talking about developer loopholes, specifically height. Examine the illustrations contained in the Orem code. I believe there's one that shows a 5-story building. Most are 2 to 3 stories, which is nobody, not even in development service offices, thought was possible. But we found out that there is a loophole. Are the power lines too close? Yes, they are too close for the lofts at 1600. A recent grammar request showed that they are too close, and their elevations show that. The developer asked to set up a call to discuss those options. I guess they want to set up a call because they don't want to put it in writing because it'd be subject to a grammar request. Thank you for the Planning Commission members for your service to the City of Orem, and we ask that you would vote to protect Orem residents. Thank you for your time.
My name is Kat Blyle. I live at 1835 North, 400 West, and I wanted to come and express I want to back things that people have said already. I don't want to duplicate things that they've said, especially Sister Stephanie Visna and Lene Millett. I agree with what they have said and the things that they have done research on and proposed. I think that this change needs to happen to protect the neighborhood homes around this area. It was so important to me that, I brought my kids with me, including my disabled daughter, even though it's extremely hard to get her out, and she's disruptive sometimes, but I felt like it was extremely important to come and show my support of this and how important it is for our family in this area to have this happen, and not only in our area, but all the other proposed areas for the homes that are around these developments, and how that height restriction needs to be set so that they are protected. Thank you.
My name is Marilyn Whipple. I live at 1864 North, 400 West. I am a long-term resident of Orem, very long, longer than I want to acknowledge. All of my concerns are about the preservation of neighborhoods. And I realize I'm an old person who wants my neighborhood to stay the same, and it changes. But I just think that's got to be what one of our commitments is. And my beefs with this whole thing go clear back to that little corner, the northwest corner of 1600 North and 400 West. Used to be residential, then it got moved to a conditional use permit for Anderson Lumber, then it becomes commercial, then it becomes part of this. To me, it's just a fear encroaching commercial onto our residential street. And I know 400 West is a big nasty street now, but it's still our neighborhood. So every time something like this comes up, it's just, here we go. They're going to take over, and that's our fear. I don't have a single neighbor. I don't know a single person in this zone that is supportive of the development that's going on. We're all interested in trying to keep a neighborhood and a safe place for our families. We support the height restrictions. I was blown away when I found out there was no height restriction. Really? Right next to a residential neighborhood, it's got to have height restrictions. We're opposed to the housing developments that are going in with no access to State Street. That's not a happy thing to do. Put such a burden on the traffic on 1600 North and 400 West because there's no access coming from the west. So people will have to go up 400 West, turn right to get in. So, like I say, all of mine are about neighborhood preservation. I know we've got to grow, let's do it responsibly, and let's put things with outlets onto State Street and onto roads that can handle the increased traffic and not in residential neighborhoods. Thank you.
Can we just make a clarification? State Street is a Utah highway, and they're the ones that have to grant ingress and egress, and in this case, we have what we have. Okay. Yeah.
My name is Robert Farr, and I live at 1720 North, 210 East. I just jotted a few notes since we've been talking. I've heard a city councilman and our mayor say, where was everyone's voice when the new commercial zoning was proposed? And it was my mistake, but myself with many others, when we heard commercial zone, what we heard, or what is implied to us, was additional retail and office spaces, not high-density housing. I did express my opinion to a city council person that did want the new zoning, and I should have known better. When we voice our opinions to others, only opinions that validate their opinions are remembered and shared. And so I don't think there was an honest poll of everything that was taken and shared. And I think it seemed to slip in and out with a lot of attention. I asked, why was something this so significant as this not on a ballot for us to be better educated? Because when things are on a ballot, there's usually an argument for, an argument against, and you can read it and you go, and you're educated when you get a vote. And so I was a little disappointed that something like that didn't get to be voted on with the residents. And I say, what was the problem that we were trying to solve or make better when we did all of this zoning? The easiest way, and this is a stupid statement, but it's true in my life, the easiest way and best way to solve a problem is to prevent it from ever happening. The next option is, if you cannot eliminate the problem, then what can be done to minimize the problem? I believe that reducing the height and the other code proposals will help minimize the many problems that are about to be created. The mayor, I went and visited with him, and he talked about traffic and not being able to take a left off 1600 North if you're heading east. And he said one of the things that he was proposing and looking at is, how can we turn it quick, quack, and then hurry and take a left and go around that little kind of roundabout and hit the light and then go over to 1600 and take a left. And I'm like, that defies my logic. And I just thought, how much more traffic, and we're concerned about air and our pollution, our environment, but I don't know if that's going ahead or not. I hope not. Many like myself have heard how many people are leaving the West Coast to move where they can find better quality of life for their families. We, the Orem residents, the Planning Commission, and the city leaders need to make sure we do not create the same culture of long-term residents and giving them for our long-term residents and giving them reasons to leave that is created by all of the high density that is going on. Shortening the height and modifying the code shows your desire to do the right thing for Orem in this area. Thank you.
My name's Ken Hohen. I live at 238 West, 1950 North. I would like to echo the same sentiments that the previous speakers have said. I think Orem City is nearly built out. With the finite space we do have left, let's be wise. Let's put these height restrictions in. I've been an Orem City resident nearly my whole life. As I said, the previous speakers, I think they've given some sage advice. I would also like to point out for the record that anyone that has come to this pulpit is not in favor of this. Thank you very much.
As there's no other movement toward the podium, we will close the public hearing section of this. Is there one more? Oh, thank you. We'll not close the public hearing portion then. Do not be sorry. This is for all of us.
Just trying to get my thoughts together. My name is Ariana Behrens. I live at 1928 North, 800 West, Orem. As I've been listening to all of the concerns, I'm trying to put this delicately, but it has become increasingly apparent to me that when we're faced with the idea of change, we often focus on what we have to lose instead of what we have to gain. And I understand the basis of the fears of the people that have come before me. But I also would love to encourage those around me to think about the benefits that come from building such a condo complex. I know a lot of people are so nervous about this, that, and the other, which all concerns are valid in their own way, I think, but also I'm very much in favor for progress and for change, because I think that change is what drives us forward. It's how we've become the society that we are, and change is necessary. And as much as we may kick against the pricks and oppose it occasionally, or sometimes I think that that is a fear-based response. And what needs to happen, in my opinion, is everyone should examine how this could be a positive thing and how this could change people's lives for the better. And maybe it may not directly affect your life for the better. Well, you might need to stop being selfish for a minute and consider someone else for a change. But I am in favor of this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Keith Walker, 1969 North, 600 West in Orem. Couple things. The property this is going to be built on, and I know we've talked to 70 and 60 in the height, but it's a teeny piece width and narrow, and it'll be a sore thumb standing out in the middle of no man's land. And then if you allow them to continue to develop behind it, you're going to create some more sore thumbs at 70 or 60 feet high, and that you don't even have. It's going to stand out like a sore thumb in that little teeny corner. Second of all, and I'm concerned with that. It's just not right. I shared with him, go build it on, he's got a piece of vacant property. I know it's not his, but he's got a piece of vacant property right behind his house. He wouldn't build a 70-foot building behind his house. He wouldn't even think about it. Couple other things I shared with the council, and I'll share briefly. This is Family City Orem, USA. Almost, I haven't seen one yet that hasn't said that on their campaigning with the city council. This is about families, about homes. I was shocked a little bit when they told us a few weeks ago that there was about a 40 to 60 or 50-50 split of rentals and houses in Orem. I share that with you because you don't need to build them. You don't need to, I know the property and they have their property and we have rentals too, but you don't need to build these high rises. Every city and community around you will take that problem away from you if you'll allow them and help them. They're begging to do that because they're doing it all over right now. And I just think it's absurd to build a 70-foot, 60-foot building in the middle of no man's land. Second thing, or another thing is, and it's probably most of your predecessors, but when they leave that property on that corner, they're going to go out to State Street, go north, go on 1830 North and turn, come back around to 4th West, back down to 16th North, and then turn so they can go the other direction on about a third to a half of that traffic. So they're going to go almost over a mile to get right back where they pulled out of, to get to where they want to go. In that street, they're going to go on 1830 North. Your predecessors made that what they called a sleepy subdivision road, and they narrowed it so that there would not be true traffic going through it. Now, that hasn't resolved that, but that was the purpose of it. And so now we're going to compound the issue that the predecessors did, or whoever, on that zoning and that when they put that in, to make that a narrow, sleepy subdivision road and with some turns and twists in it to alleviate that traffic. and now we're just gonna turn right around and add to it. And I have a hard time seeing these, anyway. I appreciate your time, and thank you for all you do, and I appreciate it, thanks.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Okay, then we will close the public hearing portion of this and turn it back to the commission, or if there are any other clarifications that you feel need to be made at all.
Well, I mentioned this in the pre-meeting, but I am concerned about the other districts. I think the same thing's gonna happen in the other districts, just hasn't yet. And I think this is something staff ought to look at.
I think when this was first proposed, as far as the State Street quarter plan, where it borders any residential district, that it was 14 feet within 14 feet, and then they could step it up from that. From that distance. So if it was 28 feet, they could go 28 feet.
Right. The equal to
I know, but 45 degrees gives me a crick in my neck. I mean, that's like this.
How tall is this room? 12? 14? Oh, it's not. 16? Thanks, Paul. 16 feet, so it'll be 2 feet below from here. Yeah, if I were standing right on the edge and looking up, you're right. Ross, yeah, it would be a 45 degree. Yeah.
So any building that's built in a district has to be equal to the height. So if it's 14 feet, it has to be at least 14 feet off of the property.
Yes.
60 feet, 30 feet.
Yeah, that far off the property. Okay. So, well, that's okay. When the State Street master plan was proposed, and it was developed over a period of many years, it was advertised. There were open public hearings concerning the State Street master plan, addressing just your issue that you said you were grandfathered in. Unless you make a 15% or more change to your building, you don't have to come under 15% or more change to your building. You don't have to come under the new State Street master plan zoning ordinances on that. So you're okay, because I don't think that would happen. Careful reading would be good, I think. All right, it is at the commission, again at the Planning Commission. Is there any other clarifications that you heard that you would like to address?
I'd just like to point out, I don't think it was mentioned, but UVX style bus route is planned up State Street in the next
That's
about
correct.
10 years.
Yes.
And there are bike lanes on 400 West and
Yes.
part of 1600, and they're planned to be on all of 1600.
Not on 400 West. It wasn't in the plan? Planned. Yeah, I think she was saying that they were planned to be there. As part of,
I would not ride a bike on 1600. That's suicide. And I ride a bike. I wouldn't do it. In fact, I don't do it. I avoid that street.
Okay.
Oh, this,
Donna,
because the state is taking over that road.
over on the, get a little bit more volume.
Is that better?
You're better.
I'm better. Okay. Because the drawings that the state has for that road include a median and I think even buffered bike lanes. So
Yeah.
that's planned. Yeah.
Pardon?
Okay.
Yeah, I would suggest that we all study the 30 and 50-year master plan for transportation too, and those things which have been proposed. They're quite interesting for State Street, but that's not why we are here. So we will turn it to the commission for a motion.
I will make that motion.
Thank you, Marisa.
I move that we give a negative recommendation to City Council that they not amend portions of Section 24-5F of the Orem City Code pertaining to overall height standards within the North Village District NVD zones and portions of Section 22-24-5H pertaining to parking standards in the North Village District NVD zones.
Okay,
I'll second.
Donna seconds. Haysom?
Wait a minute.
Yes, it was a negative recommendation. Okay,
Aye.
Nay.
aye.
Aye.
Nay.
Motion, negative recommendation to the city council. Pardon me? If you want to step up, we'll go ahead and entertain any kind of a comment you would like to make.
So that was obviously written for you beforehand. Did someone have a positive?
Absolutely not, Lene. You can stop the accusations right.
I'm not, Mickey.
Nobody
I'm just at,
made it.
She means we have in front of us what staff gives us, and it says the Planning Commission should consider a recommendation. And that is what is given to us so that we follow and make sure that we have those numbers, that we have the sections correct. But that does not say what our recommendation should be.
So the negative recommendation, because we did not talk about that in the pre-meeting, would it be positive or negative?
No, we talked about a recommendation.
I was
Yes.
surprised that you started with negative recommendation without us deciding beforehand if it is negative or positive.
We don't decide beforehand, because that way we'd be meeting in a quorum without public input.
well, then who decides to call on her to make the motion?
She
I volunteered.
You volunteered. That's how it works.
I live in this neighborhood.
No, I'm not, I'm totally not saying anything about you. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to understand how this motion process works. You know.
We just turn it to the
I-
commission for a motion.
Uh-huh.
Steve? He's,
Well, the process is the chair, and he did it in this case. He basically said, I'm willing to entertain a motion. Usually the first commission member who speaks up and says, I'd make a motion, they make the motion. And so that's in accordance with normal procedures.
Have you guys received any emails on this? Yes. So they did get forwarded to you from the Development Services Office?
No.
oh, no.
No.
No, we don't.
Email from the Osmond.
So did you receive any citizen emails on this?
Yes.
No,
I did not.
I did nobody. One
This one.
Osmond Design email, but no citizens.
But no citizen,
This is
Nothing.
this is the daughter.
And if we receive them,
the Development Services Office?
I have not received any emails from anyone about this subject. I've
No,
not received any.
we have not received it. Please, come on up.
Anya Becerra, and I actually live on 400 West. In regards to the question whether emails were sent to Ryan Clark, there were several emails that were sent. Actually, there was one specific petition with over 75 neighbors. They had their addresses, their phone numbers, and their names attached to that, with the concerns that we had and have been addressed throughout this meeting, which is traffic concerns. I mean, height restrictions, or homes that are literally facing this possible development. So we know that we sent several emails. I personally sent one to them, and we were told that they would be forwarded to your committee. I know that there's several members here from the neighborhood that have also sent emails, and we were told that they would be forwarded to you so that you could hear our concerns, as well as pictures of things that have transpired. I mean, my car literally had to be totaled because it was crashed because of the traffic concern on 400 West. I mean, completely the side of it was destroyed. Our home doesn't even have sidewalks, and we have constantly people doing U-turns in front of our home, that can't turn around because of the way that particular intersection has been built. So just with that, as far as emails being sent, there were several emails that.
Do you know what the date was? I'm checking my spam filter right now, and I don't have anything in my spam filter either. So I wonder if you have the correct email address.
I'm sure we do, because those are the ones that we have been sharing with all the neighborhood. I mean, you're talking about several neighbors in the area. I mean, it's significantly the amount of individuals that have been vocal about this. So I'm surprised that none of you have received our concerns or the petitions that we have.
Are you
we have
talking about the emails that were sent several months ago when this item came before?
Yeah,
us?
we've considered this several times.
Several, and then most recent, and maybe I could have Stephanie also speak about that. 1657 North, 400 West.
He's right there.
Have personally heard face-to-face from a planning commission member, and I could say your name, but I won't call you out, that we are not to contact planning commission members.
Well, you could say my name, but that was legal counsel that actually,
We've been counseled not to contact city council members or planning
Planning Commission.
members. We are supposed to direct our questions and our emails to the staff, and they will forward them on to the planning commission if there's anything that pertains to an agenda item on your upcoming planning commission. It's clear that that's not happening unless we specifically say, could you forward this to Hasem, Shauna, Carl, Mickey, Marissa, Ross, Mary? I mean, maybe that's what we have to do to get them to come forward through. But we have been specifically told not to communicate with you, and there's been 2 of you actually on the commission who've said that.
Yep.
So if you haven't received things, it's because we're trying to keep our place, and I don't think it's an appropriate place because you do not represent people, you represent developers, and we have to send all our...
Wait, don't
No,
make
you
that
do.
accusation.
No,
We
you
do not represent developers.
You represent a different voice than what the citizens have, and this
Oh,
have to
Stephanie,
voice-
that is so unfair. Please,
Hey,
please.
I've come to a lot of planning commission meetings, and I've sat on all your work meetings, and very few residential concerns are brought up. I have a hard time being quiet, even in today's meeting, because there are issues and concerns that the citizens have that we have communicated with our city council, which is why these items are before you. They wouldn't be before you if they hadn't been brought up with the city council. And they're there because the majority of the city council agreed.
Now,
So
We are also a non-elected body,
I understand that. You
and that is
here.
They
we're
are
kind
elected.
of
And I'm trying to
check
protect you.
and
I'm
balance.
being protected, and I know that there is that, but I don't feel like the planning commission gets the opportunity to hear both sides of the story. And I think that's,
just really quick, you guys said a lot of emails have been sent, and I would love for those emails to be presented again. That's one thing. And as far as being appointed, yeah, definitely, we're appointed members. We're not elected officials, and it is a volunteer position. But that really doesn't mean there are a lot of checks and balances, because they're all special interest as well. So
But Hasem, who are you accusing of special?
not accused. I want to have a fair and balanced place, and I'm just saying, we do see a lot of developers. We hardly see a lot of citizen stuff. And what we're seeing today is we're missing a piece, a very important piece that we should not have missed. I don't believe it's intentional.
But what is
We're
the
miss-
purpose of the Planning Commission?
Pretty much just exactly as Lene defined it for us, to make sure we plan the neighborhoods and the city for the
The
for
Planning
growth.
Commission is to, for any development that comes before us, if they are in compliance with existing law, zones, et
not
cetera.
a development.
I understand that,
Yeah.
yeah.
So what can we,
Mr.
what
Earl.
what
Maybe
is
just
the
to make a
purpose of
clarification, and I had a
Yeah.
conversation with Lene earlier today to help explain, when the planning commission deals with as does the city council, 2 different types of matters: legislative matters and administrative matters. Legislative matters are, of course, things that involve the making or the changing of a law, including what we had before you today, a proposed text amendment to a zoning ordinance. That's a legislative decision. As opposed to administrative actions, which are things like looking at and reviewing site plans, plats, things like that. With an administrative issue that comes before you, your discretion is very limited. And in that situation, it's not appropriate for planning commission members to talk to the developer, the landowner, or any other interested party, because it's kind of referred to as a quasi-judicial action. And so they're supposed to have a completely unbiased, neutral tribunal hearing those actions. And so that probably is why you received that direction. In the case of a potential site plan, it's not appropriate for you to send your opinions or thoughts or information to planning commission members. With a legislative matter, that's not the case. It's perfectly okay for the planning commission members to talk, if they want, to talk to property owners, developers, neighbors, anybody else that's interested, wants to offer an opinion. That's, again, but you have to be aware of that distinction between administrative and legislative. So in one case, it's okay. In another case, it's not okay. And sometimes those two areas can get confusing. And maybe there was some misunderstanding or miscommunication here somewhere. I don't know. But in any event, in this type of thing that we had before you, or the Planning Commission where it's legislative, it would be okay for the Planning Commission members to talk to neighbors or developers.
I personally sent emails, you were even on the copy list, yesterday, pertaining specifically to height and parking. I sent it to all the city council, the mayor, you were on the list.
I'm not sure if I don't remember receiving that. but
I did receive that email. That's the only email I've received, but we did not forward that to the Planning Commission because it wasn't
Yeah.
specific to the PC.
I should have said, could you please forward this on to the Planning Commission? But I was under the understanding that it doesn't happen. And I don't know who's responsible to send those on. But just for the record, we're not anti-development. We're not trying to stop the master plan. We're just trying to make sure it's more appropriate next to a home. My house actually borders the edge zone. And my house has a large open land right behind it. I don't like the idea of a potential unlimited height building being built right over my fence. And we just feel like this is more of appropriate buffering, more appropriate stepping down and feathering out, which is a really good way to plan a city, is to feather out, not go from unlimited height to a single-family house. It's just not, in my opinion, good planning. So we're not anti-development, just appropriate development.
But in a careful reading of the core plan, you will see that that cannot happen. You can't have a 10-story home right next to your home.
I understand. I have read all the.
But see, the implication in your wording implied that I don't want to have to look out and see it.
Right.
Oh, 10
So I understand that the current zoning is on State Street, that all new builds need to be 10 feet from the buffered sidewalk. So naturally, a building is going to be encouraged to be built up, well, encouraged, but mandated to be built right up next to State Street. That sounds lovely and all because that keeps it away from my home. But they can also have parking structures back and behind. That building can be long and narrow all the way back. We have seen that what happens when a developer who has money and a determination shoehorns their way into a very small piece of land. And that is a very real possibility behind all of our homes, that the redevelopment, as buildings come down and get older and things just need to go up. So we're just trying to make more appropriate development. They're clarified as it moves forward, because what does a developer do with smaller scale development? That's an arbitrary number and phrase, and it doesn't speak well for the residents either. We don't understand what that means, so let's define it. That's all we're asking, is for a defined, appropriate approach moving forward. And I think it's very appropriate. So we're hoping that the Planning Commission would agree, that the residents, and there's hundreds. We have a petition with hundreds of residents that agree. And if you want to stick by your guns, I guess that's your choice, but a favorable recommendation would be much right, then that's a shame. And I appreciate your service, and we'll continue to work forward and hopefully see some good changes in the future.
And remember, we send the recommendation to the city council. It is the city council.
But it's my fear that they rely on the expertise of those who have degrees and understanding of zoning and ordinances, and we will still lobby them, we'll still talk.
Sure. But just so that you know, I have, with the exception of Terry Peterson, who comes to our meetings, not been in conversation with any member of the city council about any of the items that we and the Planning Commission have had brought before us.
We're doing what we can do, and
And is what you're supposed to
we're
do.
encouraged to talk to city council, so that's.
Yeah, yeah. And now on legislative matters. No, come up, Lene. No, just come up. Right there.
Council were the ones who opened this application to send to you.
Yeah.
Okay? So
Yeah.
I think we had 5-2, maybe 6-1, I don't remember. But of the city council members who wanted, our legislative body that wanted to send this to you.
So-
The elected officials of Orem.
So
All I have to say.
So, I mean, you're just basically criticizing what they did. I mean, they're the Planning Commission body is an independent body.
I'm sorry, please don't put words in my mouth.
That was my interpretation.
Can I say something?
I'm not criticizing.
All right.
Okay,
I
I'm
say-
sorry. Let me.
But he said he hadn't talked to any city council members. He started So I'm just saying, this is in the open. There's no accusations here of anything.
This is a
The city
representation of
council,
what the city council
yeah.
agreed.
So, yeah, we all acknowledged
did
Yeah.
for 'em.
this,
So,
this application was brought at the direction of the city council.
yeah, I'm just saying, I wasn't accusing you of anything. I'm just trying to clarify what Mickey said about talking to city council members.
Can I say
They know
something,
what's
please?
on here.
This is the wording from at least 4 city council members.
Would it be all right if I say something? I've been on the planning commission for 6 years. And there have been times when there's a lot of diverse thought like we're hearing today. This proposal was brought forward by supposedly at the request of the city council. And we're a recommending body. And a motion was made and a vote was taken, and if I counted right, it was 4-3, and I disagreed. That's the way it goes sometimes. And so I would just suggest that rather than, this is kind of degenerating into a lot of accusations, it would be much better if we just all relaxed a little bit, and if you put your efforts towards the city council who's going to make the decision here. We haven't made any decision, and frankly, I've seen the city council. We've had things that have gone to the city council that were a positive recommendation, and they voted against it, and that's okay. And that's
In
what
fact,
it is.
We recognize that you can be overturned by the city council, so.
And in fact, we did make a positive recommendation a couple of months ago on this very issue.
To the 60-foot one, which is not what the residents wanted.
The point is, obviously, the city council doesn't always look at our recommendation. So we've made our recommendation, and they, in that case, came back and didn't like it.
No, we do appreciate your service, so I agree. I don't want this to go into anything else, but I just wanted to clarify what Mickey had said when he was kind of saying he hadn't talked to city council members. I think we all know the path, and it's been a difficult one. Like I say, we've been doing this since November, so hopefully next week we can get this wrapped up, but thank you.
And hopefully you'll get to see a lot more emails from residents in the future.
Yeah, please.
So you made the recommendation like you did, and I appreciate that, and nothing to you, the city council, the 60-foot height. When we sat before the city council 2 weeks or 2.5 weeks ago, Orem City told them they had no choice but to vote yea or nay on this height, and they were stuck with it in their vote in a roundabout way. And they felt penned in. The city council felt penned in my perception of what I observed, but in order to, the motion before them was whether they allow the 60-foot height. It wasn't whether they change it to something else or whether they disallow it. They didn't want the 60-foot height, but they felt like they had to vote in favor of where they were at then, so this could come back to you guys to be presented and back. And I shouldn't say what if it gets bad, I'll say what I want to later, but you guys are fine. We get into this email and all that's gone on, and there's a filter in the middle of it between you guys and the city council, and it's these people scattered throughout Orem that are not filtering what should be done and sent to them. And I just want to share that so they know that it's not out there. I know they'll disagree with me, but you guys are doing the right thing.
Are you saying, I just want to make sure I understand, are you saying that staff is somehow?
Everything that's been presented that I've observed throughout this whole process over the last 3 months, it seems to bog down.
We have the most dedicated of any.
I've just said it seems to bog down between the staff through the Orem Council, between the city council and the planning commission. It bogs down through this, and I'll just leave it at that. I don't want to get into a sling and fight. That's not the purpose, but it seems to have bogged down all the way through. Everything that's been presented, every time I come, it's back to, we're square one because nobody did anything, or we're square one because something wasn't done, or whatever. And I appreciate your comment, Carl, about what you said, because that's reality. You're there, you've made the decision, it's got to go back to the council. The council's decision is where they want to go with it. But there's just a bog down all the way through the system that we've experienced over the last 3 or 4 months. And
Can I make a comment?
Go. I'm in charge.
There has been,
Or I was.
we have listened to the public, residents of Orem, on this issue for a long time, and I can't think of a single pro high building argument being made. It's just one after another. The people who live in this area don't want the high buildings. We have not had a problem hearing that message. It's impossible to ignore it. That's all we've heard whenever we've talked about this. So whether we get the emails or not is pretty much irrelevant. You people come out and you're committed and you want your neighborhoods to be preserved, and we hear that. We make a judgment when we're finished listening with all that. But there's been no shortage of listening to your concerns, and we have heard them.
So we've been doing grammar requests, and I can tell you for a fact that some people in this room who work for the city were purposely trying to misguide the city staff, the city council, in a meeting on May 11th about phase 2. The developer had already said he abandoned phase 2 of this project. And then there were several city people who went behind city council's back to try and resurrect phase 2 through an agreement privately. It's disgusting. We have that email chain, and I'm ready to take it now to the media. It is disgusting. If some of you guys are defending public staff, I think that all of this stuff should come out.
Can I make a comment?
Please.
He's looking over at me both
I
times.
know, I saw that.
She was involved. Jason Bench was involved. Jamie Davidson was involved.
Listen,
Brian Clark was involved.
With all due respect, you're completely misunderstanding that email.
I disagree. Over 250 people have written to you guys since November of 2020. And to find out they're doing this behind our backs is nothing but egregious.
Mickey,
To completely disregard what we've
Steve
said.
speak? It's your
Yeah,
meeting.
it is.
Control this meeting.
Now, we'll have our council speak now, please.
Well,
No interruption.
I'm happy to talk to you after the meeting. I don't think we need to do it right here and right now because that discussion might take a while. But I'm happy to sit down with you and talk to you about that email and explain exactly what that meant, because you are completely misunderstanding it, honestly.
I think maybe we need to publicly have you describe it.
I'd be happy to, Steve, if you don't want to.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Because I was on the chain of 4 emails with limited wording.
I mean, I've seen what the accusations you're making are, and they're completely wrong. You're just completely misunderstanding.
The word quid pro quo in it.
Yes, and I don't think you understand the context in which that statement was made.
Then please explain it.
I will. Let's do it after the meeting, though.
And there's always a different public venue. We did close the public hearing portion, and we opened it up just because we saw that there were additional comments that wanted to be made. Okay? We've had a motion and a vote.
I understand that. I fully accept that.
Okay.
But if you guys are going to say that city staff are innocent in this, I actually don't.
Mickey, I would like to publicly state that my planning staff is of the utmost standing. They treat every development the same. We treat every developer, every resident of Orem that applies for a building permit the same. That is our goal, is to treat everyone fairly. And that is how we have handled this project that is not before you today.
No, the project is not.
And these accusations are extremely frustrating to our staff. And respect goes both ways. So I just want my staff to know that I appreciate you and I support you in the work that you've done. And some of these accusations have been extremely unfair, of one of our planners being accused of being advocating for children to die. Totally taken out of context. Those words were placed by the person on the phone call, said those words, not our planner. So I just want that on the record.
You know, I learned a long time ago in my professional career, at least I tried to learn, that there are 3 things necessary for any rational and intelligent being to have in order to know that the course they're pursuing is a correct course. We can talk about those 3 things at a later time, but not today. Now, we've had the motion. The motion is carried 4-3. It will go back to the city council at their meeting, where you will again make your presentations. The city council is much more political than we are. as they are elected. And we are volunteering our efforts I understand that. And Carl has been here 6 years. I am approaching my 6th year here, plus having served on the Board of Adjustments, plus having served on a lot of other committees in this city voluntarily. And I can, I believe, vouch for every member of the commission. Well, I believe I can vouch for every member of this commission that for the most part they're apolitical. And we want what's best for Orem. Period. You represent
I want what's best for Orem.
You represent probably 200 or 300 of the 100,000 Orem residents. Now, I don't know about you, but my doctoral minor is statistics, and that's a very, very small percentage. It would be nice if we could have all the residents of Orem making a comment rather than just the 200 you say or 300 that you represent. It would be great. I understand that too. And again, as I said before, if you have a comment you would like to make, because the microphones do not pick up your voice if you're making the comment from down there, if you would come to the podium with your name and address and make your comment.
I don't want to be redundant. Ken Hohen, 238 West, 1950 North. It would be great if the 100,000 Orem residents did weigh in on this. That would be a wonderful thing. We would have clarity. As it is, only a couple hundred are weighing in on this. And so if only a couple hundred are weighing in, maybe we should really look at that. Thank you.
Statistically insignificant, by the way. All right. We've come to the end. We've had a motion. It has passed. We will go to the next item, which are the minutes from the previous planning.
We have 3.3.
Other item?
One more item.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go. I didn't have my glasses on. 3.3.
So this, before you tonight, 475 West, 1400 North in the C2 zone, North Meadow condominium proposal. It's an existing office building. They are proposing to convert it into 4 units, commercial units, that the owner could, at their discretion, sell or keep, or however that works. This does allow to break that up into 4 distinct units that then could be sold, as I explained. So you can see 2 on the upper level, 2 on the main level, and they're here before you tonight to get your approval that we can record the plat and convert it into a condominium. I'd be glad to address any questions.
From the commission, we have any questions? Okay. Let's go for a motion then.
I'll make the motion. I move that the Planning Commission approve the final plat of North Meadow condominiums located generally at 475 West, 1400 North in the C2 zone, with the condition that the 1-hour separation is installed between units 3 and 4 on the lower level prior to recording the plat.
So
that change?
Yeah, if we can, without the condition. They did complete that today.
Yeah, so without the condition.
Okay, I'll back up a little. At 475 West, 1400 North in the C2 zone, period.
I'll second.
Seconds. All in favor? Barry?
Aye.
Russ?
Aye.
Marisa?
Aye.
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 Motion passes. Now, we move to the minutes. Did anybody see anything that needed a correction at all? Then I will make the motion that we approve the minutes as they stand.
Second.
Marisa seconded. She got in first. Hasem?
Aye.
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 Passes. Now, motion to adjourn?
Hmm.
Please, Hasem, go ahead.
Just really quick about the city staff. I do want to present my experience with Jason when there was a move to make the property on State Street legal non-conforming. He really worked hard.
Yes. Shh. Hey,
guys.
We have not adjourned yet.
So he really worked hard in making sure that my voice was heard, and came to the planning commission with him and to the council. So I do believe that there could be a miscommunication or disconnect more than anything else in that matter, from a first-hand experience in a couple of properties. But at the same time, I do validate the citizens that
Oh, yeah.
those emails should have come through for us to see before making our decision. But that's all.
Yeah, and I think everyone knows now that if it's legislative, we can receive emails on these items. We just cannot meet together in a quorum capacity.
So if I can clarify, staff does not hand out your personal emails, nor do they hand out your address. We will forward anything that comes to us that specifically states forward to the planning commission. If I get a personal email that talks about a project, I'm not assuming that the planning commission needs to see it.
Yeah.
That's with staff, and that's something that I deal with. If it's something that says specifically, hey, please forward this, we forward it. There's no question that we hide something. We don't do that. We forward what is asked to be forwarded, but we do not, regardless of whether it's a site plan or whether it's a plat amendment or whether it's a rezone. We will not.
Peterson, can you take that outside, please?
We will not give publicly to anyone emails or addresses. That if they want to contact you personally some other way, great. But we as staff will not do that.
Yeah,
So
thank you.
that's our policy.
And I would just say that in my time on the planning commission, I have nothing but the greatest admiration for the staff and for what they do. I know there's always misunderstandings, but I don't think that there is intentional efforts to try and undermine anything. That's not my experience over this time.
So motion to adjourn, did we do that?
I'll move to adjourn.
I'll second.
Oh, I won this time. In favor, Barry?
Aye.
Russ?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Ryan, I forgot if there was anything you needed to say. Okay.
And
Yeah, we're done. I assume you like the 60-foot height?